Blades Ramble are proudly supported by our main channel sponsor, My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below. And as this is hot off the presser, we're proudly sponsored by High Point Access Limited, your number one-stop shop for all your working at heights and roofing needs. If you mention the Ramble when you're asking for a quote, you'll receive 10% off any works. Find their details in all the links below. Thank you to High Point Access Limited for your continued support of the Blades Ramble.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is, technically, it's hot off the presser. We're kind of lukewarm off the presser at the moment because he finished about an hour ago. So thank you to everybody for bearing with us. I've had the school run to do, so that is why I'm slightly later than I would usually be. So, Chrissy Wilder steps up with his press. Look, I've had different emotions coming out of these press conferences. It gets me fired up sometimes for the games, and sometimes I find that they're a little bit, earlier in the season they were a little bit defensive, and as we were going on a better run, he's not really got carried away with himself. It's been very businesslike, and he were a bit like that today, but I found it very informative today in terms of, because there were a lot of bits to come out of it in terms of injuries and other things like that. Apologies, because I am towing a little bit today. I think I've caught a bit of this. It's not quite man flu yet, but pray for me because it might turn into that. But we'll carry on. We'll carry on because we've got 3 streams today. This is the first of 3. So we're back tonight with Countdown to Kickoff. And then after that, that'll be at 7 o'clock on the Blades Ramble. And then at 7:30, so it's a hard out at 7:30, myself and Lee will be on Football Therapy discussing not only Mo Salah's current situation at Liverpool, but also problematic players and what that's led to down the years. So get your suggestions in on Football Therapy on Ramble FC tonight. But this is hot off the presser. And Andy Giddins started us off, excuse me. So he went to the usual question, injuries. Sidney Peck, how is it and how serious is it? He says he's not available for selection, Andy. He says, I'm just going to leave you with that because nobody else is giving me anything. No, so why should I give them anything? And he's right. We shouldn't be giving away information like this. Andy's job to ask the question. Wilder's prerogative, and I think he's right to knock it back. In an ideal world, you'd let fans in and let them know what's going on, but not to the detriment of what can happen on the field. So, obviously, if you're telling the fans, the opposition will then know when or where City is available for selection again. He says, I'm not giving anybody anything, apart from he's not available for selection, which is obviously a big deal because he's been outstanding for us. And Andy says, well, I'm just going to have to ask, is it short, medium, long term? And he says, he's not available for selection. Right. Okay. Message understood. He said on Tuesday, it looked like Chong was clutching at his ribs as he came off. Is there a problem there? He says, no, he's okay. He got a whack, but he was always down to play 60-odd minutes, so he came off when it was due to come off. I think even one of the takeaways from Tuesday night, says Wilder, it wasn't a backward step, more a side step after a really good run. And I talked in detail about the challenges we've had. I just wanted to let everybody know that situation. I felt it was right, and I think I've got a right to do that. The performance wasn't as flowing as it could be. In both boxes, it was a really poor goal to concede, and we had opportunities to punish them. We like all our stats. We all like our stats, don't we? And even with everything going on, we still did enough at the top of the pitch. So yeah, a little sidestep, but there were 2 massive positives. Firstly, seeing Chongi back and his performance, 8 weeks out, a few minutes against Liverpool. Against Liverpool, that can't be right. A few minutes against whoever. This is AI for you. And then straight back into a really positive 60 minutes with a great assist. By the way, I can't pronounce his first name, so he's just going to be Chongi for the rest of his Sheffield United career. He says, Blaster getting 60 minutes. If we had more options available, the young boys might have been used off the bench, but that wasn't the situation for us. And considering the circumstances, their performances considering the circumstances, it was the quality we were looking for. Physically, they've still got work to do, but 2 massive takeaways from a disappointing 48 hours in terms of unavailable players. Andy then says, is Blaster okay? No ill effects from doing the 60 minutes? He says, no, he's come through great. We're actually surprised with how well he's come through it. He wanted to stay on, standard, but there was no way he was going to do that. We expected him to be battered and tired, but he comes through with no issues on the knee either. Delighted for him, delighted for myself, delighted for the football club, but most importantly, delighted for Ollie. He said, I don't know whether they come to it here, so apologies if I end up doubling up on myself, but just on that point, he was saying, and I found this really interesting, that it wasn't necessarily the physical side of it in terms of can he go for 60 minutes per se. It was more match sharpness. So when they're bleeding them back in to the first team and giving them first 10 minutes, then 25 or 30 minutes, and then they get half, and then they sometimes start and get 60 minutes. When they're trying to get our better players back from injury, it's not necessarily that they can't physically do that or it's going to be a physical wear on their body. That's not the concern. That's what Wilder were outlining here, which I found interesting. It's more the pressure of coming back into the environment, the timing, the sharpness, the speed of thought, just trying to get all your senses back up to the level that they need to be at. So I found it really interesting because usually I automatically assume, well, his body won't be ready to go for a full 90. And while that's probably true, there's a lot more to it than just the physical aspect of it, if that makes sense. In addition to the positives, says Andy, the partnership with Sorki, who I think is Sariki, and Chong looked like they played together for 15 to 20 games. Yeah, it's been a pretty successful combination recently on that right-hand side because he's obviously incorporating Brooks into that conversation. A pocket left player and the overload on that side, their exchanges, the chances created, the goals we've scored, they've been a real threat. We've been a real threat down that side. Femi needs competition. We've got no competition for him at the moment, so he's going to have to battle his way through to January. It wasn't his most free-flowing performance after Saturday, but he's a young lad, ups and downs. He'll aim for consistency because you've seen what a threat he can be. That's exactly what we've talked about. He was outstanding on Saturday. Man of the match, and rightly so. It wasn't his best performance. It wasn't a terrible one by any means, but I didn't think it was his best performance on Tuesday. So he's going to dip, and we have to be mindful of that. We have to be wary of that, and that builds into our more bigger picture thinking, doesn't it, in terms of not getting on the players' backs. And I've had a comment from, I can't remember which stream it was, and I've replied to it today because I think it's fair that, you know, some players I go in on and some players I think the comment was if Brooksy had, it might have been somebody else, but if Brooksy had missed the chance that Ings did or something like that, then I'd have been all over him and he'd have got some right stick. Like Ings got away with it basically because I like Ings. I never consciously favour players, but I am aware that I've got, and I talk about this a lot because I think everybody's like that. And I make a conscious effort to try and be a bit more open-minded on everybody. So it's a fair comment. I can't remember where it came from, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it because that's a fair shout. I know that it got to a point with Jack Robinson where I just could not see any of the good that he was doing for us. And I focused on the mistakes and I was aware I was doing it. And my dad's like that with McBurney. He can't see a positive. And some people are like that with Tom Cannon now. So that's fair, but I'm certainly flawed in more than one area. Don't you worry about that. But it's an opinion, isn't it, as well? That's the other thing. I rate some players more than I rate others. So that's what makes football brilliant, I think. So Femi does need competition. It wasn't his best performance on Tuesday, he was saying, but he's going to aim for that consistency that we need. On Monday, you were asked whether the recent form had changed your thinking on some players, but after this week, illness, injuries, fatigue, does that hammer home that reinforcements are required, says Andy? He says, yeah, listen, we're a bit short in the middle of the park. No disrespect to the two young boys, Samari and Matos, he was referring to. He didn't name check them, but that's exactly what we were talking about. They've not played much championship football, and it showed. If I'd had Siddy around, Ollie, Gyro or Tom Davis, I think we win that game. I'm laughing because it says Jokeres. Gyro or Tom Davis, I think we win that game. It was just an area of the pitch where we came a bit scrambled, a bit ill-disciplined. We moved Gus in there. I don't really want to do that, even though he can do it. It just shows how important City, Blaster, Tom and Gyro are for us. It's, again, very similar to what we were saying. And that's not, we're always right. As a collective, we were talking about it on 90 after 90, that we were down to the very bare bones of our midfield with Matos and Samari in there. That is an extreme of how light we are. It's very rare that we've got 6 midfielders, and it's very rare that your first 4 are going to be unavailable. And that's exactly what we ended the game with. We ended the game with midfielders number 5 and 6. So that, I think you still have to look at the injury history of Tom Davis and say he's not going to be available on a regular basis. We can't rely on him to be available on a regular basis, and that's so unfortunate but true. So essentially we're working with 3, and one of those is coming back from a serious injury. So we need reinforcements for that reason, for the quality, not the quantity. I think if we can terminate Samari's loan, I wouldn't be shocked to see him go back. I think Matos leaves the club, most likely on loan. And I think we get somebody else in. We'll see. Let's have a look. Here we go. We had a meeting with the board on Wednesday. I think it says Wednesday here. Talked through everything. They've been incredibly supportive, and I thank them for that. When we are criticising the board, which we have done, and I think we're justified as fans to do that, we have to take stuff like this into consideration as well. They could be having recruitment meetings, not involving the manager, not asking his opinion, or just having him there as a token, and they're not. They're having him significantly involved in these meetings, as he is acknowledging. So they are learning as an ownership as they go. So we have to, I think, again, it's similar to the players, I think, some of the unproven players. We have to sort of take on board that they are doing some things, certainly with the right intentions for the club, but some things right as well. I'm pleased that they're involving Chris Wilder in these discussions. He says they've been incredibly supportive, and I thank them for that. But yeah, it highlighted exactly what we've been saying. Not 5 or 6 or 7 signings, just the right ones. The right turnover of players who can improve us going into January and through the second half of the season. Midfield is an area. There's a couple of other areas too. Andy says, did the meeting provide any answers? He says, yeah, short-term contract discussions, Riedewald and Bamford, and some medium-term things as well. There was a full pack sent to the board on loads of different players. I present that. They discuss. I'm on the call, delighted to be involved. Honest, balanced view of what the club needs. They were very supportive of it. I believe they'll be very supportive in January. He says, I'm not putting pressure on anyone. If it's the same, it's the same. If it's an upgrade based on the recommendations from myself and Stephen Bettis, great. Stephen Bettis, obviously we know all about him. Don't forget, Stephen Bettis has now been promoted to the board. So we know that Wilder has an ally in Stephen Bettis, and Stephen Bettis sits on the board, and he's clearly in favour. Now, from what I understand, in previous big decisions on the board, most of it comes down to a vote, and I'm sure that will ultimately decide a lot of things, and it'll be a majority that wins. But I do think it's great having the ear of, or certainly having a representative of Chris Wilder in Stephen Bettis in the board, really, because some who aren't close to the situation may see Wilder's methods as X or Y, like old school. Some would call him a dinosaur looking from the outside in, which I think is ridiculous. Some think he's just a certain type of motivational manager. Ultimately, whatever you think of him, he's a successful manager. So, and I don't think that can be argued, certainly at Sheffield United. So he's earned a right to be heard. He's proven it on the pitch. He's done exactly what's needed to turn us around. So he does know what he's talking about, and they should value that. And it appears as though they do, which I think is a positive step. You seem encouraged that they'll adhere to your plans, says Gids. He says, yeah, I'd like to think so. Some loan players will return to their parent clubs. Everyone knows that. So we have to replace them with players who push to get into the first team. This club is an attractive place to play, even in our position. The players who come in must improve us. That'll do for me. That will do for me. Quick fire then, says Andy. I know you're not going to give us too much information, but I'm going to ask you some names and just might they be involved on Friday. McGuinness, Ogbenny, McCallum and Riedeveld. And he says, McGuinness, yes. Riedeveld, yes. McCallum, yes. Chong, no. Interesting. Really interesting. Cheo, sorry, not Chong. Cheo. No. Timescale on Cheo Ogbenny? Close. Interesting. So, McGuinness, Riedeveld and McCallum all back in contention for Friday. Doesn't mean they'll all start. Doesn't mean they're all fit and firing, ready to go. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Bindon starts and McGuinness is there just off the bench as a stronger alternative to Zatterstrom, for example. The Norwich metrics were encouraging, even with a patched up side, says Andy. How much confidence does that give you going into West Brom on Friday? He says, yeah, we're doing well, but the Championship is the Championship. Look at Norwich, their players, their resources. West Brom are the same. Premier League clubs not long ago, Leicester too. Everyone's got threats all over the pitch. They'll look at us and say, Sheffield United have got threats too. The group's together. We're really ambitious. We're disappointed on Tuesday, but they shouldn't beat themselves up about it. It's been a really good run with a couple of players back or available. We'd probably win that game. He actually said at one point, with Gyro and Peck in the middle, I think we win that game, which is quite damning for Samari and Matos and tells you exactly where he thinks the levels are. But I agree. But Norwich could say the same, he said. West Brom have real quality, especially at the top end. Big club in this division. They'll be looking to get back on a run. This league is crazy. If you put a run together, you can fly. We want to keep ours going. Sorry, I will get through this, I promise. Danny Ings seemed relieved to score, says Andy. Shows the competition for places, doesn't it? He says, yeah, one thing I've said, we don't need additions at the top of the pitch. Great competition, great combinations. It's useful to mix things up, especially when the opposition shape changes. He says, in fact, I don't know if he'll come on to that, so I won't spoil that yet. Having Danny on the pitch is great, and around the group, he's a mentor for the young boys. He was a bit down, but that's because he cares. He wants to do well. He doesn't need to apologise for anything. His job is to score goals. I spoke to him at half-time. I knew he should have scored the header and maybe one at the back stick, but he said he should be on 4 or 5 by now, and he'll get there. Hopefully it's the first of many. We don't want to change... is that what he said? Right. We don't want to change the back 4 or back 5 if we can help it. Continuity in midfield too, partnerships, but up top, it can be horses for courses. Yeah, that's what it means in general selection. Our press on Saturday was excellent. We stopped them getting a rhythm. We stopped Stoke getting a rhythm. The work rate is key, and Danny's got a big part to play. I'm delighted he scored. I'm just trying to scroll on to see whether he mentioned something, because I'm not sure whether... Well, I'm going to mention it anyway, and again, if I repeat myself, apologies. We stopped Stoke getting a rhythm. That work rate is key, and Danny's got a big part to play. I'm delighted he scored. He's a popular boy, and hopefully the last part of his career can be a really enjoyable one. Plenty have come here late and finished their career brilliantly. Hopefully Danny does, and Pat does too. It may, as I say, I may go over this, and I'll try and skip over it if it's repeated. But he did say at one point, he listed all 4 strikers, and it must have been for this question. And he said, we've got Danny, who scored, which is great. We've got Pat, who's come in and made an immediate impact, which he definitely has. We've got Ty, and then he said, who had a good season last season, and we're trying to get him back to those levels. Absolutely. You cannot be more accurate with that. And we've got Tom Cannon, who we're hoping has come on into a bit of a resurgence, and we're trying to get him back to the levels that we know he can be at. I think that's a perfect summary of the 4 strikers in one sentence each. Just, it's exactly where a lot of Blades think that each player is. On Danny again, says, I don't know whether it's Danny's come into the conversation as in Danny Hall or Andy Gidds is still on. He said he's harsher on himself at 33 than ever. It must give you confidence that he's not. It must be Danny Hall this, because I remember it piquing my interest, because I think is Bamford 32? And I thought Danny Ings was a fair bit older. But if he's 33, I'm just going to double check it while we're on. I'm just going to double check, because it surprises me that he's not older than that. But yeah, I didn't expect Danny to be wrong. Danny Hall to be wrong, but yeah, he's 33, not 34 until July. So, and Patrick Bamford, I think, is 32. My dad keeps saying he wants the old boys up front. He'd love to see them both up top together. Yeah, he's 32, he's Bamford, birthday in September. So, there's not that much. I see Patrick Bamford coming in and potentially being a striker for us for the next couple of years. A lot of people are already saying that Danny Ings probably only sees it out till end of the season. Well, if he's got time to stake his claim for another contract here as Danny Ings. So, yeah, there's certainly an incentive for him to continue pushing, I think. So Danny Hall says, on Danny Ings, he said he's harsher on himself at 33 than ever. It must give you confidence that he's not here to wind down his career. He says, no chance he's here to wind anything down. That would have been my first decision to check that. I know about Danny, though, through West Ham and some connections I've got there, how popular he is, the injuries he's had, the lack of minutes, but you get to know that they're good guys and the ones you don't want anywhere near you. I was looking forward to working with him from day one. He's got a vital part to play. The group was unbalanced when I came in, and having Danny, Gyro, Pat, Ben, me, huge for us and huge for the young lads to have around the group. At the start of the season, you were light on experience, weren't you? Does that reduce the pressure in you on you in January to get more experienced bodies in? He says, you've got to get the balance right. Reliability, availability, those are huge. The best ability is availability. Good afternoon, Prince Abdullah. It's a tough 23-game run-in. I don't think there's 23 games. There's 26 games, isn't there? 26 games left. We need options, experience, youth, pace, physicality, everything. You've got to get your first 3 targets in January. You never get your first 3. He says, well, we send options 1, 2, 3 and 4. He says it's very rare that you get all your ones. We try to get the best on every front, but you have to have a plan B and a plan C, essentially. Are you confident you can move quickly in January? He says, well, we've been talking from the moment I walked through the door. They wanted an honest assessment, and I gave them that. No BS, he said. I told him who I think takes us forward, who should go back, who needs to go out on loan and get minutes, who isn't at the top end of the championship level, because let's be honest, that's where this club should be. The owners are experienced business people, they get it, and they can take that honest feedback. January is a huge month with huge fixtures. Will we get 3 or 4 bodies in straight away? Probably not, but we'll try. He says we've got Oxford on the 4th. Leicester on the 1st, I don't think they'll be in for, but I'd like to hope they could be in for Oxford on the 4th. Excuse me, FA Cup then. Yeah, I think we could get some in. He says Nigel coming back on the 10th. It's a big game. It would be great to see Nigel. I'm a huge fan of his. Loved his old man. Proper football people. Danny Hall then says, on our blaster again, has his performance changed the load management plan just because he's come through it better than expected? He said, not really. There was no risk in playing him. This is where we've already said it into just the usual questions of timing, rhythm, and getting back to a championship intensity. But Tuesday wasn't a risk. We wouldn't do that with any player. When you come back after playing so well, people expect you to hit the same levels instantly, and it doesn't always happen. But you saw glimpses of his quality. We'll be sensible. There's lots of football left, and Gyro being back for Friday is big. Another body. Ollie will definitely play a part. Love that. Different challenge for him, though. He set the bar so high with United in his previous performances. He says, yeah, he handled Tuesday brilliantly. He's not lost anything. He's not lost his talent. He just needs to physically get up to speed. And sometimes adrenaline carries you through the first game. It can be a game 2 or game 3 where you start to feel it. But we'll monitor him closely. He's so highly regarded by staff and players. He'll get back to top levels. Anything on Jamie Shackleton, says Danny. He's had a little setback, unfortunately. Jamie Shackleton's another one who's just never available, unfortunately. He'll be back in training next week, hopefully. He needs a bit of luck, that lad. He's not had the best run, but getting him back will be positive for us. On recruitment, the owners have previously been very innovative with the AI approach. Does that change the process? I assume that's where they're going. Again, this is AI that's done this for us. It's proven with this transcript that AI don't know everything. He says it's a collaboration. Our opinions go up, theirs come back. We meet in the middle. Hopefully we're bringing good players to push us in the second half of the season. Since coming in then, Chris, have your opinions on the group changed? He says not hugely. Some have impressed and then faded. Some grew on us, but generally it's the same. Competition, experience, balance, pace, big moments, clean sheets, physicality in midfield, mentality, tactical bits, they're all on the checklist. We're a bloated squad. We've got too many players. When you've got players who are hanging around who know they're not going to be in the first team squad, it's not good for them and it's definitely not good for us. But you also can't be too light. You need the right number. For me, I think 3 or 4 additions is right for us. And you know, get rid of that bloated squad. It was then pressed for how many would you say is a decent number? He said 25, 26, 27, and then he went back to 24, 25, 26. So anywhere really between 24 and 27. But he said we often operate with a surplus of 20%, assuming that 20% of the playing staff will be injured. He says because at the moment we've got Ben Mee, Sidney Peck, Shackleton, and there were one more that's out injured, Tom Davis. He says, and that's 4 bodies. So that's if you had 24 players, you'd only be able to field every other player. Do you know it? Because you can name 20 in the match day squad. So I thought that was interesting. It was then I've then had to go old school, and I thought I could remember it because I thought we were coming to the end of the presser. I've had to go old school and write it down, but I thought, now I'll try and remember this last question. And he asked him about Didsy. Shout out Didsy, friend of the channel. He's now appearing to do a player coach type role at Barnsley. And did you ever see that coming? Is what Stu were asking Wilder. And Wilder said no. He was head of like the players social club when he was here. But other than that, I didn't really see him. And then he went, joking aside, he's the prime example of like resilience in a player. He talked about him coming in. He says it was on trial, but it wasn't it was never a trial really. It was just to prove his fitness because we knew exactly what we were getting in terms of the talent he had. Scored against Inter Milan, went on to have a brilliant career for Sheffield United. He said he saw him at the George Baldock Foundation, a George Baldock Foundation do that they were at not so long since. He says it's always brilliant to see him. He says I always smile when I see him or I think about him. Just a great lad. And he says that's great for other lads at this club who come in and, you know, maybe haven't spent the whole career here, but they know that they can revitalise themselves here at Sheffield United, and he's a prime example of somebody that does that. Then a great question that was linked to that a little bit, excuse me, was similar to what Dave Bassett did, and obviously Wilder worked under Bassett. Do you see that link back to the club as really important? So getting players like Chris Basham, David McGoldrick in and around the club, Billy Sharp, these sort of legends. And he says, I want that link. I want that link more than anything. He says, I see Bradders, Mitch Ward, Peter Duffield, Tony Curry, Ted Emsley. Shout out, Ted. All in and around the club. There should be that connection there. Dukey, Mickey Collins, Gary McSheffrey have all played previously here at some time. But there's Tom Little. They're all ex-professionals. And we're a culture club. We promote from within. Maybe in future, this seat that I'm sitting in will be occupied by an academy lad who knows what the club's about. So a great little line from Wilder there about him wanting that link back to, and I love that, the history of the club, the legends that came before. And we've all lived through this 18-19 team that went on to do such great things under Wilder. But, you know, the team that had George Baldock in it, Enda Stevens, Jack O'Connell, John Egan, Mark Duffy, and then David McGoldrick, Billy Sharp, Ollie Norwood, John Fleck. The names start to roll off your tongue because they're just incredible servants to the club, and it were a special place in time. But you'd like to think in 20 years' time, we're still going to Bramall Lane, and we're seeing those boys in and around. It would be brilliant to see them linked to the club like legends when I were a kid, like Bradders and Mitch Ward and Ted Emsley for the older blades, and Tony Curry are still in and around the club. That is what we're about as a club, and I love it. Absolutely love it. There were just a couple of questions to finish on. One of the younger lads asked, you said the players were disappointed. How do you pick them up from that? And he said it's part and parcel of being a pro, and they need to get their heads around it because we need to go again on Friday. And then in the FA Cup, how do you prepare for cup ties against lesser teams, essentially, without being derogatory? It wasn't a derogatory question, but it's like, do you prepare differently for those type of games? And he says, nope, exactly the same. He said, when I was at Middlesbrough, I think he said they got to the semi-final. They certainly went really well. They beat Man U and Tottenham. And he said, the hardest game we had on that run was Mansfield away. He said, we got lucky and we beat them 1-0 with a scrappy goal, but they were the toughest game that we played in that entire run. So we'll prepare for them as we would any other team. And that was it. That was the end of the presser, and I enjoyed it, as I always do. I coughed and spluttered my way through it, a bit like I did while I was reading it back, really, to be honest. And then I had to rush off and get my girls from school. So thank you to everybody for being patient with me. I'll get to your comments now to see how you feel about it as we wrap up. Paul starts us off. Good evening, pal. Oh, good afternoon. It's because it's pitch black outside. Hi, Jimmy. Hope you're okay. Andy, your dad okay? Family okay? We're all okay, thank you. Well, I'm towing a little bit, but I'm all right. I'm going for a 2-0 win, and Danny Ings scores and Gustavo Hamer scores. I love it all. Since Tufty went 2 up top, since Paddy joined, never lost. Up the Blades. Have we not lost since Bamford joined? I don't think we have we? Incredible stat, that, Paul. Incredible stat. I've already done, and I did it pre-press conference, my countdown to kick-off prep in terms of all the graphics that I get up on the, like I've got all these that come up on the side and stuff. That's not a side one, but you know what I mean. Marked by Mildrew. So like I do all these for countdown to kick off, where I put the predicted lineup and things like that. I've already done all them before I had the press conference. I'm still not going to change anything, but I still don't think I'm going to be far off with what he's said from that presser. But that's a really interesting one that we've not lost since Patrick Bamford joined the football club. I hope that's right, because it does sound right to me as well. Got to think, says, well, Jimmy, City Peck either starts on Friday. That'll just make me laugh because I know exactly where this is going. Either starts on Friday or he's out for the season or anything in between. You've got to love Wilder up all the rambles. That's exactly right. Nobody trusts what Chris Wilder says in press conferences. He only gives you a snippet of the truth. You take everything he says, particularly with injury updates, with a pinch of salt. Hi, Jimbo, says Dan. From his presser, it sounded like Blaster might go beyond to go again with hopefully Gyro. Gyro being back is huge for us. Absolutely huge. So it could well be Blaster from what he said. I'd be surprised if he started though. I think they'll work well together. I do. Still not keen on Cannon, and definitely need a right back and goalkeeper cover in January. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. I agree with those cover positions. Cannon, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts Cannon tomorrow. I wouldn't. Love how coy CW is, says Ontario Blade, with his injuries, keeps everyone guessing. Good to see Blaster and Chong in good nick. Great to have 3 injured and sick players back. Board support looks promising, but only time will tell. Proof is in the pudding, isn't it, Ontario Blade? Proof is in the pudding in terms of whether they back him or not, but he seems pretty confident that they will. Jack says, let's hope we have some of our players back because West Brom are there for the taking. It's a good time to play him, isn't it? It's a good time to play him. Paul says, been struggling, but with illness. But the positive is your Blade show helped me. I love it, Jimmy. Thank you, mate. Highlight of my day is to watch your shows. It's special to be involved in the Blade Ramble family. Thank you, mate. Well, you're more than welcome. All the best, everyone. He says, Merry Christmas. Going now in pain, but love the Blade Ramble. We'll win. Everyone, take care all. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that, mate. Hope you start to feel better soon. Sorry to hear you've not been great. Mr. Morwood, speaking of somebody else who's been slightly under the weather. Afternoon, Jimmy. I'm confident and positive. A little warning. I'm hoping CW knows how dangerous West Brom are at corners. Up all the Rambles, up the Blades, up the positive 6. Like and subscribe, please. Thank you, mate. I thought we looked a little bit small on Tuesday night. I think Eki Out Salwat one that pointed it out as well. But yes, we were smaller than the opposition, and it made corners look a little bit dangerous. Whereas previously, when we've had Ben Mee and McGuinness available, and Bamford's been in the lineup, and Gyro, I know he doesn't necessarily have height, but he's clever, like we've talked about. I think we're a little bit more assured in those circumstances. Never underestimate the Albion, Jim, says Alan. Never so dangerous when seemingly out of it. Best wishes to the Blades, up the Ramble, up the gym, lad. I certainly don't underestimate West Brom. I'll talk about it tonight. At 7 o'clock, countdown to kick off. Boom. There we go. We'll be live on the Ramble at 7 o'clock again. Sick of seeing my face yet? And then Al backs it up. Thank you, pal, with a £2 super chat. All the best, Blades, up the Ramble, up the gym, lad. I didn't know what the JL was, so thank you for clarifying. Just me being thick. Mark Meldrew. The one and only. It says, afternoon, Jimmy lad. Decent presser from Chris. 3 to 4 in during January by the sounds of it. Looking forward to tomorrow with hopefully a few bodies back in the squad. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, up the Mark by Meldrew, and up the positive 6. Love that, pal. Love that, mate. Raymondo says, hello, everyone. So good news is that Gyro, McCallum, and McGuinness are available for tomorrow. Brilliant. Not sure on Peck on how long. We'll just have to wait on that one. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles. Like and subscribe. If there are any medical experts in the chat or in the Platinum chat, whether you want to just put it there instead, I believe it's a calf. I've heard something about a calf for City. I don't know where I've heard that from. I can't honestly remember where that came from. But I've no idea how long calf injuries tend to be. So, and obviously they're all different things, aren't they? But that might give us a bit of a gauge on how long we can expect him to be out. Bryce says, afternoon, people. As ever, please keep all the chat fan-friendly and enjoy the Ramble presser with your host, Jimmy. Bryce, absolute legend. Hi, Jim. Hope you're well, pal, says Dempsey. I am very good, mate. I'm in a good mood. Put it that way, pal. I hope you are too. Please like, subscribe and share our top-class Blades Ramble. Costs no, and is simply the best Blades fan forum money doesn't need to buy. Help us get to 11k, folks. Let's go. Thank you, Bri. Cod Light plays YouTube. Says, hi, guys. Robbie here. Up the Blades. Thank you, Robbie. Up the Blades, indeed. Jack says, I've caught the cold as well. Killing me off it is. This is more than a cold, Jack. This is not just a common cold. I am suffering. Big time. No, I'm only joking. Dane. How do, pal? Hope you're good. Pecky's a big loss, I agree. Hopefully back soon. Not too disappointed on Tuesday night as the squad was depleted. Hopefully we kick on again tomorrow. Up the Blades. Yeah, completely agree, pal. Pecky's a big loss. Just as he was starting to come into form as well. Let's hope he's not out for an extended period of time. Ollie Arblaster more than capable of cementing his own place in the lineup, to be honest, once his fitness returns. But I'd be surprised to see him start tomorrow. I really would. Peck's first injury, it seems to be a bad one, says Jack. Does it? Do we know anything about it, really? I'm not sure. Get up, Jimmy lad. Says Do. Okay. Ian says, good to see Chong is fit. I think he could be a big player for us. I keep banging this drum. Gyro and Bamford have to be tied down to longer contracts. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Well, if it's a drum we've got to bang, then I'm banging it with you, Ian, because I completely agree. I think we obviously didn't have him on the field for a significant portion of the game on Tuesday, and levels dropped because of it. Not just because of those two. Obviously, it was a heavily rotated side. But I think those two lift our levels. And I think Bamford's an obvious one, because obviously he's scored, but also anybody that's watched him play while he's been in a red and white shirt can see what he offers us. I think it's obvious when he's touching the ball, his movement and things like that. But I'd also say for Gyro, the biggest compliment I can pay him now is, at the moment, the question is who partners Gyro in the middle? And we've got Siddy Peck and Ollie Arblaster in our squad. So that shows how important they are to us, and they need to be tied down in January. I'd love to get Gyro on a 2-3 year deal, and that'll be lovely and comfortable for me. Let's have a look. Reese says, we will get in the playoffs. Believe we're one of the 3 best teams in the league right now, and we'll average 2 points a game between now and May. Get in the top 4 and give the playoffs another good whack. I'm still confident that we go well, Reese. That's a huge shout to say we'll get 2 points a game average, but it's not beyond the capability of the squad. We did that last season. We averaged 2 points a game. 92 points over 46 games is bang on 2 points. I'm pretty sure. I'm just questioning my own maths there, but it's bang on 2 points a game. It's in any regular season, it's promotion form. Obviously, we've handicapped ourselves for the first 15 games of the season. But 2 points a game on average will hopefully, and I'm pretty positive, it will get us into the playoffs. So I wouldn't back against us at all. And people that aren't Sheffield United fans and haven't been watching us, and a lot of those were on the show that I did with Cal Fowler, will think I'm deluded and arrogant and all this sort of thing. It's not that at all. It's just I rate our players. Our manager's got us playing and looking like ourselves again. It don't mean we're going to go unbeaten by any means. It don't mean we're going to steamroller everyone in the league. It just means we will. If the season started today, I would back us for a top 2 finish because of how we're playing now. And it's taken 20 games to get us to that point. Ian says it was Liverpool. There was a behind closed doors game against their under-21s, I think. Pretty sure Rob Page is their 21s manager. What was Liverpool? The Liverpool game behind closed doors. It was the Liverpool game. It means under-23s. I don't know which bit I'm on about, to be honest. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, says Carl. Thank you, my mate. Luke says, if Chong can start on the right tomorrow, I'll be very happy to see Brooks in the middle with Gyro. Yeah, that were another suggestion. I think Dave the Nose suggested that to us during the game, that while Brooksy was on the bench, apologies if it wasn't Dave, but it could have been, that Brooksy could have come on alongside Blaster initially if Samari were going to come off at half-time, which obviously didn't happen. But yeah, Brooks is another option that can play in the middle. I have to say, though, Brooks has been on fire down right-hand side, and I wouldn't want to disrupt that if we have other options that we can look at. Jack says, if Femi keeps it up, we'll struggle to keep hold of him. I'm guessing Hamza is going to come, though, unless we can take advantage of the Wolves situation. In what respect? I think this is Jack's in response to me criticising some players and things like that. Everybody does, Jimmy. I defend Brooks no matter what, but we'll call other players out for less. I think it's a natural thing, innit, Jack? And thank you for backing me on that. But it is a natural thing that you do. You warm to some and you don't, and you have your favourites, and that's how you are. It's where we're programmed into it. Ian says, from Tinterweb, published 2nd of December, Liverpool 21s were beaten 4-1 by a senior Sheffield United team in a friendly on Tuesday afternoon. Yeah, they were. Not this Tuesday, obviously, it were week last Tuesday. I think Blaster got some minutes in that as well. Brooks could do a job in the middle. It's unfortunate the two midfielders we had to rely on aren't up to it, but an area we need to strengthen. You simply can't argue with results, Jim. Sayers proved that, says Bry. That's absolutely right. Come on, people, give that like button a whack. It's free and helps with the channel. Thank you, my mate. Jack says, personally, I won't credit the board yet. They have to keep Wilder in the discussions because they messed everything up. We shall see next season. Yeah, that's fair to reserve judgment. I'm reserving judgment, to be fair, but I think we're very quick to say, what the hell are you doing? And justifiably so because of some of the decisions that have been made. But I also think we have to acknowledge that they've made some right moves as well. So it's just putting it out there that there's a balance in there to everything. Alessandro says, sounds positive that McCallum, Gyro and McGuinness are back. Gutted about Peck, but hopefully our Blaster gets more minutes in the legs and match sharpness. Can it have the same effect that it had on City last year, where when Blaster went down, City came to the rescue? Now, if City's gone down, can Blaster come back in on his white horse, coming over the sunset? He returns. Gaza says, Carl Bradshaw lives in our village. Remember when his parents had a pub in Hackenthorpe? Oh, very good. Very good. Romeo says, we're going up, don't worry, guys. Don't be giving me this, Romeo Dunn. You were telling me 4 games ago we're getting relegated. Come on, Romeo. Flip-flops. You wear him on holiday. You don't have to do it with your opinion. David Oxley says, looking forward to January. Let's see who we get in. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm confident that we'll come out of January better than we go into it, which is always the aim, but it's not always the case. I think we're worse coming out of the summer than we were before, but I do think we're playing better now than we did last season. Brand says, hi Jim, on reflection, I think I was a little harsh on my comments the other night. It was a decent point considering the changes. Will look like a good point if we pick up 3 tomorrow night. Brand, you don't have to come on and fess up if you like, if that's the way you feel, but I love that you're comfortable to do so. And it's emotion, isn't it, in the moment? And it's the tunnel vision that we all sometimes have of, they're Norwich, they're 23rd, we're at home, we're playing really well. Sometimes they're a lot trickier than, a team that'll come on to us because they're feeling confident and, it gives us space at the back. I thought Norwich played really well. There's no way Norwich get relegated this season. Not a chance. If Cal Fowler wants money on that, I might put money on that one because they're a decent team and they played well against us and they could have taken that game quite easily. So I think Clermont will get them out of trouble. I think they're too good to be down there anyway, aren't they? But they're going to have to dig in, but I think they've got more than enough to get out of it. Matt says, afternoon, pal. I'm the same under the weather. The good news is I've finished work now till after Christmas. Brilliant, mate. Oh, fantastic. Once again, Wilder spot on, 100%. The new players coming in at midfield and defence. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Going 2-0 on Friday to us. Interesting. Excuse me. Dave Oxley says, looking forward to January to see who we're bringing in. Just hope we get all our business done early. Hopefully we can get some quality in. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Al says, West Brom have only lost 1 at home. Yes, I'll be talking about this on Countdown to Kickoff. Not an easy game tomorrow. Not an easy game. David Vinter says, can't go at the moment, and it's killing me, especially away days. We'll be sampling the watch-along for the first time. Looking forward to it. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles. Thank you, mate. You'll be more than welcome to join us. Hope you're feeling okay, and we're thinking about you, mate. Wilder said calf injury after the Norwich game. Thank you. I knew I'd heard it somewhere. Calf could be 6 to 8 weeks if it's bad, says Matt. Let's hope it's not that bad. Calf injury timescales goes on the grade pretty short. Grade 1 is 1 to 3 weeks and 2 is 3 to 8. But that would mean he has torn some sort of muscle within his calf, says Archie. There you go. See, this is why we have these open forums, because it's informative, isn't it? So it could be anything from a week to 8 weeks if it's his calf, which obviously Wilder's already slipped that it is. Worst case scenario, it's 8 weeks, which would be terrible. It takes us to mid-Feb. We don't want anywhere near that. But it may be a few more probing questions over the next few games from Andy Giddins. When's he back? I'll tell you when he's back. When's he back? I'll tell you when he's back. Our guess is a grade 1, as he'd have spoken about some sort of scan on him otherwise. So that'd be 1 to 3 weeks. We might see him in New Year. Interesting. Worst case scenario. If it's a grade 1, worst case scenario is New Year. Thank you, Archie, for the info, pal. Ian says, meanwhile, in P Company, we ran through the pain barrier to get to the maroon beret. I don't know whether this is an official army reference or not, but if so, thank you for your service. If it's a reference to my illness, I'm a wimp. I don't know what it's a reference to, Ian, to be fair. But yeah, thank you for joining us, mate. Regarding taking advantage of Wolves, I mean, they're coming down. Could we steal some quality in Jan, says Jack. 4 of our players from the academy in our starting 11. Love to see it. Bright future ahead of us no matter what. Who would you want from Wolves, Jack? Who would you want? We can have a look at their team if you want. I don't think... It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I might have another look at January because things have changed since we prepared for it, haven't they? Please like, subscribe, and share our top class Blades Ramble, says Bry. Costs no, and he's simply the best Blades fans forum. Help us get to 11k. Let's go. Thank you, mate. Jack says it's about to be 2 losses at home. Love that. Mr. Fletcher's Bread says Liverpool was the behind closed doors game. Yes, it was. It was. And Ian says when Gyro plays, the midfield flows. On Tuesday, the midfield was very stop-start. I agree with that. Completely agree. Now, what would strengthen... imagine if Hamza joins in January. Now, that would strengthen the squad. Up the Blades, up the... It not only strengthens the squad in terms of competition for Gyro, it's also competition for Femi at right back. I think Hamza Chowdhury is an ideal signing for us. Matt says, I wasn't overly worried about the performance the other night. It was a tough situation, but still have an issue with Samari. More because I don't think he's worth anywhere near the obligation fee. Up all the Rambles. That's if promoted, isn't it? That's if promoted. I think, look, it's largely regarded that we cannot terminate Samari or Ogbenny's deal. But there will always be ways around these clauses. If we pay them a set amount of money, then we can terminate that deal early, I'm pretty sure. They will accept that. So there will be a way around it. We might be doing it because we think we'll actually get promoted and don't want to pay 10 million for him. That might be the case as well. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. In 21-22 champ season, Hecky took over from Slav at around 20 games. We were 16th on 26 points. We finished 6th on 75. Hecky's in 26, won 14, drew 7 and lost 5. So have faith. We've done it before. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Well said, mate. Well said. I love that. Bryce says he's moaned no end this week when my man flew. He said Chong played behind closed doors. Right, okay. And the AI confused it as said Liverpool. Thank you. Thank you, Jack. I get it now. I get it. You're absolutely right. Kijana Hoover from Wolves in Jan. Yes. Yes, he was somebody we outlined, weren't it? And Chowdhury for midfield depth. Love it. Love it. Would love Kijana Hoover. Is he playing for Wolves, though? We'd have to have a little look at that. Right. We're going to call it there. Thank you to everybody for joining us. We've gone 49 minutes. And we'll be back again tonight. We'll be back with countdown to kickoff. 7 o'clock live on the Blades Ramble. And that'll be before we go for football therapy. Myself and Lee looking at the more money, more problems, more Salah situation. at Liverpool. I'm also going to do a cheeky little plug for the morning brew that we just jumped on and did this morning on Behind the Ramble. If anybody's not following our other channels, please do. It greatly helps us grow as a wider channel base. It would be very much appreciated. Just some behind the scenes stuff from the Blades Ramble. But I'm going to call it there. I'll see you all very shortly because we're back at 7 o'clock. So for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Excuse me. Up the Blades!